Question: how do you succeed in a role when what you do constantly changes? Product managers and marketers are some of the most popular jobs today. Yet, research like the 2020 Product Management Trends and Benchmark report show that only 26.6% of product managers say they have clarity in their role and strategy. So I'm curious, how do you actually thrive in a role that is constantly changing? Hi, welcome to Curious Monica by Innovators Box, where we study how different people thrive at different jobs. I'm your host, Monica Kang, and today I'm excited to dive into a role that I've been hearing a lot about. Jobs related to products. That's right, you probably heard it too. Product marketers, product managers, growth product managers, and more. And yes, they are different from project managers and program managers and product owners. But what do they do? Why are we seeing more people in these roles, and what skills are really important to thrive in these roles? And how does one build a career in them? Today, we're going to untangle all of that.
Growing up, I did not know what a product manager was. In college, I had never heard of a product manager.
I think at the time I'd never considered working in it because I was in that trap where I was in consulting and enjoyed the money I was making.
Really difficult, but it taught me a lot about what you have to do when you go through that. What does supporting people through that look like?
How can we fundamentally blow it up, right? What can we do to say, what does the customer really want?
To understand more about product management and product marketing, I reached out to two friends. One who is a product manager and another who used to be a product manager who now works as a product growth marketer. So let's start with the basics. What is a product manager?
I work in technology. And for those of you who don't know what product managers are, we are the people who are kind of like the in-between master collaborators with, business, technology, design, analytics, and ultimately in charge of the product strategy. Specifically, again, I'm in web and software.
That's my friend Ann Griffin that you just heard. In other words, product managers oversee the development of a product to ensure it meets customer needs and the larger business objective. Product managers need to understand the customer's needs, the business objectives, and all the different moving pieces in a product development. Anne is a product manager at Priceline and a product coach who believes that we need more understanding of the power of product management as a career. She has worked at Microsoft, Comcast, Mercedes-Benz, and today she also teaches as an instructor at Columbia University's School of Professional Studies and builds products and programs as the Chief Product and Curriculum Officer of 2025, a platform and community for learning about and engaging with emerging technologies such as blockchain and AI, and exploring their impact. In short, she is someone who loves product management and thinks a lot about it. Surely, someone like her knew that this is where she wanted to be from the beginning, right?
I think I was meant to be a product manager. That being said, growing up, I did not know what a product manager was. In college, I had never heard of a product manager.
Wait, what? So how did you build your passion in this career then?
So I was going to study computer engineering, ended up settling on industrial and operations engineering, even though I still had to study how to program. And I really did that because it was the most interdiscipline type of engineering you could study at the time. You still had to learn to code. You still learned all sorts of other really fascinating engineering topics, but you also were learning a lot of important things like statistics. Having that level of statistics knowledge is definitely a bonus. And also, there's a lot of things about economics that you have to learn. So it's something where I ended up creating a path. And then I was very fortunate in that this role already existed out there in the wild in technology.
How did you get a product manager job?
I graduated into the Great Recession, not nearly as bad as what we're going through now, but I got a job at an IT consulting company. And I was like, it's technology. I'm going to take the skills I learned. I'm going to iterate, and eventually got into jobs that were basically product management, not necessarily under that title. And then eventually went into jobs that actually use product management as a title.
That's such a humbling reminder. our dream jobs may not exist yet, and we may be the first ones creating that job for ourselves. I certainly did for Innovators Box.
Absolutely. And I've never seen one of those quizzes of like, here are types of jobs you might be good at. I've never once seen product manager on any of those quizzes. So just keep that in mind. It's like those things might not have a title or they just don't exist on those quizzes.
Okay, wait. But there were products before this time. I mean, how did they do product development before? Surely there must have been a way. And yes, there was. While the recent boom in product manager has been due to the rise in tech and software companies, the idea was first born because a junior executive felt frustrated with how things were done. In 1931, Neil McElroy wrote a 3-page memo that was the birth of modern product management. While the concept of advertising and developing products with the end customer in mind started in the mid-1800s, it wasn't until Neil's memo that the idea of a brand man who oversees the full product development process came to light. His memo made companies evaluate the importance of having product managers, someone who is dedicated to a product's development and its brand development.
Because I think it may be of some help to you in putting through our recommendation for additional men in the promotion department, I'm outlining briefly below the duties and responsibilities of the brand men. This outline does not represent the situation as it is, but as we will have it when we have sufficient manpower. In past years, the brand men have been forced to do work that should have been passed on to assistant brand men, if they had been available and equal to the job.
Even though P&G had a 1-page memo writing rule, his recommendations were so valued that they were adopted across the whole company. It also led him to being promoted until he became the president of P&G in 1948. And even if you aren't in product management, you may have heard his name in history class because he was also the U.S. Secretary of Defense from 1957 to 1959 under President Eisenhower. He didn't have a lot of government experience before this, but he was brought for his excellent managerial skills. And it's amazing how forward-thinking he has been, as his 1931 memo is still referred today as the foundation of modern product management. There are a few stats you may find interesting to understand the unique role of product managers can play in an organization. First, while fully optimized, product managers could increase the company's profit by 34.2%. Almost 60% of executive leaders say they don't fully understand the value product managers bring to the team, according to 280 group studies in product management. This may be the reason why, as we said earlier, the top challenges for product managers are a lack of role clarity, lack of time, and competing objectives within the organization. The role is so interdisciplinary that you have to be good at so many things, which could also lead to becoming a generalist.
Where is society going? I don't want to get to be like 45 and already age out of the workplace because of ageism. I'm like, I want to have the skills so that I am so like ahead of the curve where I'm like, well, you could lay me off, but I have all the skills. Or if you lay me off, I'm like, I'm just going to be able to consult because skill is so in demand.
Anne realized she had to become a specialist and a product manager.
I started seeing so many things pop up about AI. And I was very curious because I was like, this keeps coming up again and again and again. Their first event ever was about creating chatbots. I was like, I want to stay a product manager, but I want to be a product manager that works with AI because this is clearly the future. Like we're going to see more and more of these products because once I understood more of like what these products are doing, how they can integrate into the business and how they can actually help us, I was like obsessed.
So how did you hone your expertise in AI?
I ended up taking like data science classes. I did a lot more like research on my own, like reading Medium articles, reading what things like The Verge or Bloomberg were putting out, because I was like, my goal was never to be a data scientist. My goal was always to be a product manager that works with AI technologies. People were like, oh, you need to go to get a master's degree. And I'm like, but the master's degree people aren't talking about these same topics.
What are the things you are worried about?
I came across this book by Dr. Sophia Noble called Algorithms of Oppression. And that was like my first introduction to tech ethics. There's this whole other side to AI where I'm like, it can do these amazing things. It's not going away. But also, this is so harmful to like women and people of color. And I'm like, how can we fix that or change that or stop that?
I was glued to my screen as I learned more about her expertise, and I can see why she has chosen to build a niche within product management. This is why I did the same thing. Build a niche within creativity and innovation. I could serve many stakeholders, but I choose to specialize in workplace creativity to understand how to support cultural leadership and team development, and that helped me hone my craft. Her story of the importance of building a career you love made me think of the conversation I had with another friend.
I'm Kushan. I work in growth marketing at a digital health company. I'm based out of San Francisco.
That's my friend Kushan Shah. He is the growth marketing manager at Teladoc Health and is inspired by consumer products that help people feel connected. We became friends over 5 years ago through a community called Starting Block, and I've always enjoyed learning how he thinks about products that can foster connection. Lately, he's been focusing on the psychology of marketing and consumer behaviors. And as the growth marketing manager, he focuses on the life cycle marketing, experimentation, and driving engagement for their digital health products. He's a former product manager at startups and consulting companies like IBM. I asked him how he first realized he loved product marketing.
Really after college, during college, a lot of what you measure yourself against are topics you understand really well and topics you measure against really well. So if you get an A in a class, you think that it's a topic you're interested in. But really after college, when you have a lot more incentives that are not based around objective measurement, that's when I think you can really find your inner nerd, right?
But what led you to pivot from product development to product marketing?
I was at IBM and I was not super happy with my job. I met someone at IBM, Sam Klein. She was someone who talked about this stuff all the time. She was like, how can brands connect to millennials? How can brands do a better job of kind of appealing to a larger consumer base? And she invited me to write for this blog. And I realized like this was kind of really interesting stuff, how companies need to embrace like social and how companies need to embrace kind of this new generation of social. This is like really interesting because traditionally I thought of marketing as a very transactional function.
Yeah, so how is it different?
You do something in order to get ROI, you do something in order to increase sales. That's when I started thinking about it a little bit more broadly, where I was like, okay, why is Whataburger? Why is Rosetta Stone? Why is White Castle? Why are all these brands tweeting about hip hop beat? Then I messaged Sam and I was like, hey, I have an idea for this article. It's like the article is literally why brands should pay attention to hip hop feeds, and that's kind of like what really opened me up to this fascination around brand marketing and thinking about marketing a step from just I use Twitter and it's fun. And now it's more like, okay, why do brands use Twitter? Why do brands post certain things on Twitter? What is like a content strategy for a brand?
That's pretty cool. Who knew writing one article could lead to a whole deeper interest into marketing as a career? So I asked Kushan as well. Knowing that the role of product marketing has evolved, what does he recommend if one wants to build an expertise in this role?
With marketing and a lot of other professions, you want to build a solid T-shape. And what I mean by that is there is like a foundational set of things that you want to be really, really good at. And then you can build like kind of different verticals off that. When I think about the foundation of the T-shape, it really comes down to a few things with marketing: empathy, emotional intelligence. It's more than just being nice to people, but it's being aware of other people, being aware of other people's needs, motivations, being aware of kind of what is my working style, what is their working style, what do I need to give to them in order for them to feel like they can do the job that they need to do.
Anne has raised a similar point in skills development as a product manager.
Yeah. I mean, it's exactly what you said. We need the products actually made by different people. Like, for example, if I'm making a product and I'm not doing what I need to do to learn about disabilities and accessibility and that kind of thing. And we make it really impossible to hire people with disabilities onto my team. My product is probably not going to be super inclusive for people with disabilities.
Yes, and oh, how often companies make this mistake.
And when we talk about people of color, there was this thing on Yelp where if you typed in like dog food or like cat or something, then it would like bring up Asian restaurants because racist people would like write reviews that like, oh, they have like a dog kennel out back. And it's like, clearly that's not true. But no one thought we should do something about that. Like regular people have to find that and be like, yeah, we should protect against this kind of thing.
Algorithms of oppression is a growing problem that, fortunately, more leaders like Anne are speaking up about. When Professor Safiya Noble published her research and book in 2018, showing how online search results have unconscious bias, it became a pivotal opportunity for more leaders to raise awareness on why we need more diverse and empathetic people building and marketing products. If not, we may constantly miss the mark and forget who we're building this for. On the flip side, you could win a customer's brand loyalty like how Kushan feels about Taco Bell. Most of Kushan friends know how much he loves Taco Bell. He celebrates the day when Taco Bell responds back to him on Twitter. And the time his friends changed their background photos to be Taco Bell themed for his birthday. I asked him how he became such a fan. Was it because of how they marketed towards him?
What's funny is actually why I love Taco Bell has really nothing to do with their marketing. And also a lot of it has nothing to do with their food. When I was growing up, I grew up in Northeast Boston, and my family and a lot of our family friends, we were all vegetarian. And, back in like the late 90s, early 2000s, you couldn't easily go to McDonald's and get a vegetarian meal. If you got like a Big Mac without the burgers, like, you could do it and they would give you really weird looks, and you would almost feel a sense of shame as, someone who is like coming into this country just trying to eat a vegetarian meal. But Taco Bell, they had the ability to substitute basically refried beans for every single meal on their menu. And so it kind of became a tradition where whenever we would get together, Taco Bell would be the go-to fast food. It was more like Taco Bell was the connection I had to fast food growing up as a Indian American in the late 90s, early 2000s.
A food that makes you feel belonging. Even if that food is fast food, how can you not have a special bond to that product? And yes, foods are product too. They are edible products. Why do you still like the brand, Kushan?
I do really love what Taco Bell has continued to do with the brand. They really marketed themselves as kind of this like youthful brand. They like have this delicate balance of purple, pink, navy blue within their marketing. It almost feels like a manifestation of Las Vegas, right? Where you're seeing neon lights.
Still, that's pretty cool. Wait, why do colors matter?
They harness the energy well of the youth. And if you think about actually most fast food logos, Wendy's, Denny's, Dairy Queen, McDonald's, they're all somewhat colored. They're all red. And traditionally, red has been a stimulant. A lot of people see red and think of fast food because, red traditionally activates this level of stimulation inside the brain. But Taco Bell, interestingly enough, is like one of the few that's not red. And I almost think they don't want to market themselves as a fast food restaurant. I think they want to brand themselves as kind of this more like youthful, exuberant experience that is disconnected from just you get food and you leave, you get food and you leave.
Ha, interesting. So colors can signal messages. I'm being reminded how much details matter. How are brands being mindful in what they build and market, especially during this pandemic? Some are good, but some are not good enough. Anne brings up a good point as we reflect on how the teacher user experience has changed during this time as we pivoted to online learning.
There used to be a time where, imagine if we didn't have this technology now, there are things where I'm like, you would have had to teach a whole class over the phone, I guess. That sounds weird. That being said, we forced people to like start teaching school online on the turn of a dime. And so there wasn't the intentionality. Teachers were put in a position where there wasn't special training. They weren't really given extra resources other than like, you have a Zoom now and all your kids are getting iPads. And that's for the people who did get iPads, right? Like there wasn't like here's how best to engage kids in this way, or like, here's stuff for your mental health. It's really, they were given additional labor that they also had to perform in this online transition.
Designing with the consumer in mind. Do you hear this? Empathy is so key. And no matter how much good intention product developers and marketers put in, there is always room for growth. Constant and intentional communication has become an area and founders self spending a lot more time in as team continues to build products remotely.
If you've been working remote enough before this pandemic, you will understand how many times where everyone says, yes, we all understand what is happening. And then they build it and they're like, that is not what I thought we were building. And I've been through that enough to know that I'm like, there's things about how we work together when we're working remotely, whether it's just one team or one person that's remote or we're all remote, that you need to actually be very intentional about.
But the way we work will continue to change. What are some things product managers and marketers should look out for in the future?
I want to say it's Jeff Bezos. He has a really good quote where he says, a lot of people ask me what I think is going to change in the next 10 years, how the world is going to change in the next 10 years. But I would actually posit that the other question is more important, which is what is going to stay the same in the next 10 years in the world? And a lot of that is human psychology, human biases, the way that we make decisions.
Focus on what stays. Focus on people. In the end, product managers and marketing jobs are important because they are not just arranging different moving pieces for products to sell, but constantly have to study people's psychology, feelings, and needs and connect the dots. That's a lot of strategy, reflection, processing, and understanding. This is probably why both are avid learners. I asked if they had any advice to share for other product managers and marketers who wanted to succeed in their roles.
I'll actually lead with a favorite quote of mine, which is that your value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to see your worth. And so you really kind of define your own success. And whenever you're career transitioning or anything, you're going to face a lot of rejection. But remember that most people who don't know you know 1% of what you are fully capable of.
Bet on yourself. Go all in on you, because no one else is going to magically appear and promote you.
I hate to end this on a corny note, but believe in yourself and make sure you kind of keep understanding the full extent of the value you have to bring to the world, because one day someone else will, and that's where the magic happens.
The time you're spending doubting yourself, you have to actively combat that part of you. You need to bet on yourself.
And bet on yourself. The resilience you hear in their voice is no coincidence. Having to constantly define their value and build a strategy while leading a team and empathizing with so many people in times of changes require resilience, empathy, patience, and curiosity. How will you choose to take your quote, unclear role in what you have to do and build, quote, meaningfulness out of it, quote, because you care? This is Monica Kang at Curious Monica, and I hope you all enjoyed being curious with me as we learned all about product management and marketing. Thank you, Anna and Kushan, again for sharing your story and why you love what you do. Be sure to follow them online, share that you met them here from this episode, and thanks, Kushan, again for sharing your exclusive story on how you became a fan of Taco Bell. Speaking of food, next week, I'm excited to interview my friends in the food industry. Food is a key part of how we live, but how much do you know about how one builds a career in food?
Oh hi, I'm Cree Pandy, a web designer and developer at Innovators Box, and I hope you're enjoying Curious Monica. A little fun fact. I have a doppelganger. The first time I met her was an event that we both attended, and my colleagues asked her, when did I or she had time to change into a new dress? Who would have thought? This show is brought together by our awesome team, producer Siren O, audio engineer Sam Lamart and Ravi Ladd, Kelly Gravo on marketing, myself on website design, graphics designer Monica Escobar, and Luke Helder on music. And of course, the show is hosted and directed by the curious woman herself, Monica Kang, founder and CEO of Innovators Box. To continue the curiosity and creativity of the workplace, visit us at innovatorsbox.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share. Would love to hear what you're curious about and what mysteries Monica can uncover in our next episodes. See you next week.
Join me next week to learn more. I'll see you then.